So right now, what I'm going to talk to you, it's more about research design. It's about how to write a paper, what is the stages in the writing of paper, and so on and so forth. So if you allow me, I will share with you right now my content. Just one sec. Okay, 1 second. Sorry about that. Somehow doesn't show it about that. Just sorry about this. I don't know why, but it doesn't allow me to share. Nargis, can you make me, am I participant or can I share something?
Yes, you do.
Okay, sorry about that, because it doesn't show my...
Hello?
Nope.
Well, maybe you can send us and we will try to
No.
share.
I think I will do this right now. Just 1 second. Okay, this is kind of, I guess you can see it now. It's in PDF. Now it says that you cannot share it. I don't know why it doesn't show me in PDF. Can I send it to you, Nargis, so we can just share it with?
Yes, maybe we can try.
Then I will start with students. So it will be in 2-3 minutes. So,
now?
Sorry? So,
we can send
yes.
it to chat box now.
Yes, just send us and we will do.
Yeah, I sent you your email, Nargis, if you can just do this.
All right.
Okay, great. So what I want to talk to you today about is more about research design, how to design your paper, what is the stages of the paper design, and what's going to happen once we deciding to writing the paper. So first of all, as you understand, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't just talk to you about this one. There are 3 purposes of the research. Research usually follow the 3 purposes. One is exploration, description, and explanation. So whenever you write a paper, first of all, you have to understand that what kind of the paper I'm going to write about. Is it going to be exploring something? Is it going to be describing something, or is it just simply explaining or explanation of some kind of the phenomena? So if you do exploration, the main purposes of that is to satisfy the researcher's curiosity, desire for better understanding, actually test some extensive study, to develop a method that you can just employ later on. So usually that's a kind of explorative methods, and the paper is more exploration. The second kind of the type of the paper is more about description. So this is a typical historical type of the records, archives, when you try to describe the certain type of the phenomenon. And finally, the purpose of the research, final purpose of the research is explanation. So you're trying to find out what is the causal inferences in the study. So before just jumping to the simply what kind of the research design you can do, there's a few questions you have to answer before going toward the research. The first questions you have to answer is that what is the unit of analysis? Unit of analysis means whom do I study? Who is my object of the study? Is it organization? Is it some kind of phenomenon, social phenomenon? Is it some kind of the, I don't know, countries? I mean, what is the study object for me? That's the first question that would force you to go and study that specific phenomenon. The biggest mistake you can do in the social science studies writing an article is to go for the wrong target while thinking that this is exactly what's a unit of analysis of mine. This is the biggest challenge that you can just enforce. So for example, if you're talking about individuals, your unit of analysis are the humans, are the people whom you're going to study. If you're, for example, students, voters, parents, children, that's the first kind of the part of your unit of analysis. If you're studying groups, then the group itself becoming your unit of analysis. And here you can do this, let's say, families, certain type of the friendship groups, gang members, members of the some society, and so on. The third unit of analysis could be organizations. So from this perspective, it is either corporation, social organization, companies, universities, schools. And finally, if you decide to make your unit of analysis as a social interaction, then the telephone calls, Facebook status, Instagram pictures, chat rooms, fights, that social kind of interaction can become of your unit of analysis. Yes, can we go to unit of analysis, please? Next one, Nargis, if you. Yeah, further. And what I want from you, can you just go for the table? It's on the closer to the end. Go down. It's a special table. Yeah, go down. Further, down. There's a research design table. Further. When you thinking about, I think it's a little bit up. Yes. I'll tell you what number is that. Go up. Okay, it's a 28, number 28. Yes, exactly. So this is can you a little bit expand it so we can see it? This is a map of your paper. This is a map of your research. So my advice would be to have it all the time with you whenever you make a research or writing a paper. That's a map, kind of mind map or map for your research is happening. So whenever you're thinking about writing some kind of a paper, the first thing you have to think is interest. Whether this topic is interest me or it's absolutely not interesting. So where this interest come from? Usually interest coming from the some kind of the paradox. What's a paradox is that paradox means when you expecting something happen because it's a logical, but in fact it doesn't happen and something else happens. That immediately brings your interest to a certain level. What it means that, for example, I was expecting, for example, during the COVID-19 period of time in Azerbaijan, the number of people who would love to have a vaccination would be very high because their people are sick of that kind of the COVID and they want to have a free life. So the number of the people who would love to have a vaccination would be high. But in fact, if you go and ask the people, it turned out that the number of people who want to get vaccinated is very low. So this is a paradox. So my interest come from that is why the number of people who want to get vaccinated is low. So that is an interest. And I'm thinking, okay, what is the leading to the such kind of the perception? Why people don't want to get vaccinated? So this has come from the first interest. The second theory, the second stage is your idea. Means coming out from the interest, you sit down and think, okay, I think that maybe the people are against vaccination because they're scared. The fear affect that the people don't want to get vaccinated. And another factor could be, I don't know, bad perception of the vaccination, also a fear, affecting that the people don't want to get vaccinated. So you see that I have an interest, the why the people don't want to, why the people, the number of the people is extraordinarily low versus my expectation was high. And then I believe that, okay, it's because of that, they don't want to get vaccinated because they're scared. So I have an interest, I have an idea. Next stage of mine is the theory. What the theory is, technically, I'm going and reviewing literature. By the way, guys, if you want to, at some point, you don't understand something, stop me. I'll be really happy to go in depth of that, because treat it as a workshop, not like a lecture. I'm talking, you're listening. So if you want to stop me immediately, raise your hand. I will give you floor. You can ask me a question. So, and immediately I'm jumping toward the theories. So I'm go and study certain type of the literature. I go and study books. I study certain type of the articles, reports, and so on and so forth, and come up with some kind of the theory that would explain why the people are not vaccinating, why they are fearing this vaccination. So that would be my interest, idea, theory. That would bring all of them together in one place. Okay, next stage would be two important concepts, two important things that you have to understand. It's called conceptualization and operationalization. And I will explain you what it is about. So before jumping to the further research, you have to come up with the questions for your research. And all the time, the people will ask you when you write a paper, what's the question of your paper? What question do you want to answer? And then further on, they will ask you, what's your hypothesis? Question is mostly, it's a kind of, it could be one question, two questions, three questions. It's kind of the puzzle you putting forward. The question would be, why Azerbaijani or Belarusian or Tajik or Uzbek or Turkmen people don't want to get vaccinated? That's the first question. Why they're fearing vaccination? Second question. There's a couple of the questions you're answering. And then you come out with a hypothesis. Hypothesis is usually statement. It's your idea. It's your statement that you want to prove. What you do in this case, you simply put a statement that the fear of bad effect, of the fear of the disease, or not fear of diseases, the fear of the additional effect, as the Russians call побочный effect, or the fear of the bad impact of the, or negative impact of the vaccination, make Azerbaijani people, for example, less perceptive to the vaccination, or forcing them to not make vaccination, or putting a fear for the vaccination. So the fear of that negative impact, making them to not to do this. So we are establishing here causal relationship. So our, I guess you know what's a dependent variable, what's independent variable. Dependent variable over here is a vaccination. An independent variable is that fear. So we're thinking that fear is affecting vaccination. We believe that fear making the people to not get vaccinated. So it's an impact of the fear on that. So that's what causal relationship we're establishing. So whenever you publish, whenever you want to send your paper for review, or you want to make sure that the people listening to your arguments, you have to understand that the first things you're putting forward is the causal relationship. What causing what? Or why this happened, because of what reason. So you simply said low prevalence of vaccination happens because of the fear. That's your statement. That's your hypothesis. Then the second stage, another stage, it's also methodology, comes. Nargis Khanum, can we have? Okay. I think Nargis was kicked out, I guess, from the system. Maybe once she's back, she will just put. So the next stage in our research would be called conceptualization. Well, conceptualization is the process, it's a mental process to define certain variables. So for example, if we're talking about fear and vaccination, you have to define what does vaccination means. So we have to come up with a vaccination's definition. What's a vaccination means? So vaccination means the process of making a shot of the certain type of the medical substance. That's a vaccination means. So you explain it. Fear is, fear affect vaccination. Fear then, from that perspective, is that condition that the humans have in a certain stage or in a certain condition. Can you hear me, guys? Is it fine?
Yes, we do. We can.
Good, good. So that's a process, mental process called conceptualization. Next one stage, mental process called operationalization. Conceptualization, operationalization. Operationalization usually means when you say fear, how do you measure fear? When you say vaccination, how do you measure vaccination? Is it one shot? Is it a minute? Is it a periodization? And then fear, how do you measure fear? So when you say that the fear affect vaccination, I want to say that how do you measure fear? Just as simply asking the question, are you fearful or not? Or there's some kind of the degrees of the fear. So please explain me this one. Not only this one. For example, if you want to measure poverty, how do you measure the poverty? What is the mechanism of the poverty putting down for certain type of what is the poverty is about? Or any other concept. So conceptualization, operationalization, this is all the mental process that you have. It's a first is interest, then idea, theory, conceptualization, and operationalization. That's the first stages of the research, one of the most important stages. Why it's more important? Because it's more philosophical approach to the, or just an initial stage. If you make a mistake in this stage, then the whole study can go to different direction. The whole study will be, at some point, will be completely, I wouldn't say wrong, but it will be highly criticized by the peer reviewers or the people who just reading your articles. So that's important aspect. Any questions so far, guys, about the interest, about idea, interests, ideas, theories, conceptualization, operations? I can go in depth on that if you have any misunderstanding about these concepts. You can raise your hand. I will ask you. You can ask a question. No questions, guys? Good. Okay. The next stage then comes from the perspective of the what kind of the method you use. Well, first of all, you have to understand methodology. The whole process of searching for truth is called methodology. So overall, it's a methodology. But what kind of the method, what kind of the tool to use? It's called research method. So method is a part of the methodology. Methodology is a whole mental process. Method is a simplistic, what's the tool you're going to use? The other time, I think I guess yesterday, we discussed what kind of the research methods exist. So first of all, we talked about experiments. What is it? How to collect the data. So last time when we discussed, it's about experiments when you just go and make a setup for certain type of the situation, and then you collect the data, observing how the people behave. That will be one thing. The second will be survey. We discussed about that. You prepare questionnaire. You bring the questionnaire and ask the people whether it's a telephone interview, surveys, whether it's a face-to-face survey, whether it's a self-administered survey, or send it by mail, whatever it is. That's a survey research. Field research. it's kind of the more about observational thing. Content analysis, when you come up with a certain type of documentations, statements, speeches, and you look at this kind of the how to say there's documents to see that how they analyze it. Then we have existing data research. It's more about statistics. Then we'll talk about comparative research. It's when you compare kind of the two kind of the cases, and evaluation research. So for example, in our case, if I'm interested in how does fear affect vaccination in Azerbaijan, in your opinion, I mean, if I want to find out, does fear affect vaccination? What kind of the methods would you use, guys? I'm posing this question to you. What kind of method would be the best to use, and why? Anybody is brave enough to come up with say that what kind of the methods we can use and why? About fear and vaccination. Anyone? No? Okay. In most of the time, I guess nobody wants to just be brave enough to do this. In most of the cases, that will be the survey. So through this instrument of the survey and questionnaire, you will try to find out what is the kind of the level of the fear of these people, how these people, how will people to say that how the people feeling about the vaccination, and then what's the level of their fear through the survey questionnaire. So the questionnaire would be the best choice to measure the fear. But if you want, for example, to find out how the people, what's the people's attitude toward, let's say, animal cruelty, then the experiment could be a very great example. So you can imitate as if there's a cruel behavior toward the animals or some kind of other things, and then experiment it and then look at what kind of the people attitude toward that. So this is kind of the method of the data collections that can exist over there. And then you moving toward the next stage would be observation. What is observation? It means it's a collection of the data. It means you already go and began to implement this data collection. You began to collect the data and compiling this data in one place. That is another stage. Next stage would be the data processing. Means, let's say, analyze, not bringing and just typing the data to the system. Next is analysis. And finally is application. Means if you find out a certain type of the outcome of your research, the next stage is applying this research. And finally, the question is why research design is in circular way? Why not it's a one way around? Why it's a circular way? Can somebody answer me? Can somebody give the answer why the research is always circular? Okay, it's a circular mostly because the research is all the time is never ending. Research is always in circular because the research at one stage it stops. It gives the birth to another research. It gives the birth to another kind of the process of doing investigation because research never ends. So that's a mental map. That's a mental map of the anything of your research design. At each stage, you could have problems. At each stage, you can have a success. At each stage will be scrutinized by your peer review. So make sure that each stage is following certain type of the standards from this perspective. let me also talk to you a little bit about how you can do some proposals. What is the major stages of your proposals? Let me check it with it. So if you want to write a proposal on a certain type of the topic, I mean, it's actually the first thing that you should think when you're writing your article. The first thing you should do is before engaging in the research itself, the first thing you should do is just to write proposal and called research proposal. So in research proposal should be approximately it could just range from the couple of pages to almost third of your article. But there's a certain type of the elements in your research proposal that should be present over there. The first thing in your proposal, or even the beginning of the paper, supposed to be introduction. What is the introduction? Introduction, it's simplistically, it's you introduce the reader to the problem. You introduce the reader showing them situation with the data, with a certain type of the evidences, and telling them that, well, the expectations was something this, but in reality, the expectation came absolutely different. So it was, you're talking about more about paradoxical situation. So you expect the, I don't know, dog biting the humans, instead the humans had beaten the dog. So it means, okay, it's a paradox. So in introduction, you say, okay, this is a problem, and I want to study this problem. I want to study why it's happened, this phenomenon. That's your introduction. Maybe a couple of the pages if you're talking about research proposal. The second stage in your research proposal is a literature review. Literature review, many people believe that the literature review is some kind of the garbage can. It's not. Literature review is process of the analyzing and not recycling, analyzing the literature, what literature stated about this problem. What does literature talks about vaccination and fear factor? Not necessarily what's a vaccination, what's a fear. No, I don't need it. I just need these two variables, how they're affecting each other, if we talk about fear and vaccination. So literature will explain me what kind of the theories, what kind of the paradigms exist in the world or in the social sciences that could somehow explain me why people are scared of the vaccination. That's your literature review. The third stage would be your methodology. This third chapter. In a methodology, you explain me, okay, what's your research questions? What are your research questions? What are your hypotheses from that perspective? So what's your statement? Then what is your research design? Research design means how you're going to collect your data. What methods you're going to use it? What kind of a subject you're going to select? What's your unit of analysis? What are your ethical issues from this perspective? And then finally, in the research proposal, you tell me how, once you collect the data, which method you're going to use to analyze the data. So this is a kind of the mental process again of your research proposals, how the research proposal should be written.